Patreon Q&A number 49. I want to thank all 69 of my patrons. Guys, thank you so much for continuing to support me the way that you have. I really do hope that this Q&A is good enough to give back to all that you have given me. To everyone else listening, there's going to be some spoilers in these questions and answers, so tread carefully after this point. Legandaryus asks, "Hey Shonen, been canoeing and camping this week. Been busy with things with no reception out in the woods." Hey, that's awesome, Legandaryus. I hope it's been rewarding and somewhat cathartic for you, because I know I get that feeling myself when I get the chance to be able to do things like that. I'm not so much of like a overnight type of camping type of dude. I'd rather just do it on the day and then, get out of there. But that's awesome, man. I hope you could do as much recreational activities as possible. We got to get all the stress relief and enjoyment out of things as we possibly can. My question is, what would you guess pro heroes earn and how they make that money? Do they need to defeat monsters to make money, or do they get paid the same check no matter how much they defeat monsters? So this is a good question. And as far as I know, we don't get any figures exactly on what the heroes are making. From what I remember, and just as far as I know, I could be wrong, but it was stated that they get paid once a month, and it's based on the rank that they have. Other than that, I guess we could just assume that based on their classes, it's going to, incrementally change or go up and down. So I guess with the C-class heroes, we could just assume that they're getting paid minimum wage. Maybe even less than that. I don't really know how things work in Japan or just in this world of One Punch Man in general, which I assume is just based on the economy of Japan, considering that they go by yen and everything. But I guess like the C-class heroes get paid minimum wage. What our minimum wage in America would be. I don't even know what it is currently. But it would be something like that. And then I guess like maybe the higher the C-class goes, like maybe Moomin Rider gets paid a little bit more than minimum wage. But he is pretty famous, so maybe he gets a special little salary to himself, possibly. And then the B-class, from what I remember, they're doing okay. Like, they might be able to just be heroes and not have to work extra jobs. Like, maybe they could just get by like that. Also, in the bonus chapter, I think it's called the Blizzard Bunch on Hard Times, with like Fubuki and her group, as to where they want to appear to be luxurious and of a higher status, so they try to get like a better car. They wanted to get like whatever the equivalent of a Bentley is in that world, but they couldn't afford it, of course. So they all had to work together, just like to save up to get, I think 5,000 yen, which is like 5,000. I forget the exact number, but I think it was like $5,000 that they needed or something. They put like a down payment on their car or something like that, and they all had to like get extra jobs just to save up that much. I'm paraphrasing here. I don't remember the exact amount, but it was something like that. So I guess that's giving us some insight to the B-class heroes. Like, I guess they're like a little above what minimum wage would be considered. So they have like what I guess middle-class people would consider like a better job than simply working like at the bottom, where like the entry level for things would be, like a job that you would get benefits with, where you can live off of it and you can be somewhat comfortable, but you can't really like splurge and do things like that. But A-class, I'm assuming that they are doing pretty well for themselves. Like, they for sure are only heroes full-time. Like, they don't need to do anything else. I'm guessing maybe their salary could be like something from like 40K all the way up to like maybe 100K a year. I could be wrong, but it's something like that. I'm just taking a guess. And then the S-class, they're rock stars. They're super famous. They have merchandise to them. I mean, the A-class heroes do too, from what I remember. But the S-class, there's no question. They get just 6 figures at the minimum. And I'm sure some of them even get 7 figures. And also, the S-class heroes, they don't really care about money. Like, we've seen none of them even remotely care about that stuff. Even King. Because we saw, like, King's apartment. He lives a pretty mild-mannered life. He's not really extravagant with his things. And I think that plays more into King as a person. Like, he doesn't need, a whole bunch of material stuff and this big extravagant place to live. He just wants to live in an apartment. He wants to play his games. He wants to do what he wants. That's pretty much King. And we saw the other S-class heroes are kind of the same way. Like, they're superheroes. They're gods among mortals. Like, the money doesn't really mean much to them. They kind of just want to defeat monsters to get more powerful. But we also saw that, like, Child Emperor has, like, a whole huge dome-like laboratory devoted to him. And So I assume that they're all getting like a lot of money. And then My Mask, of course, he's an idol, so he's making millions. But that doesn't really go into him being a monster. But as for your last question with how do they get bonuses or something like that for how many monsters they defeat? I assume so. Maybe if they take out like a big monster, or maybe if they save a whole bunch of people, maybe they get like a bonus for that or something like that. I mean, there's got to be kind of some incentive to go above and beyond the Call of Duty. Because I don't think every single hero is like unrequitedly altruistic, you know what I mean? But yeah. Joseph K. asks, hey Shonen, Saitama's morality when it comes to killing monsters intrigues me, because we obviously know he has no difficulties killing any that attack or threaten him. However, with guys like Orochi and Neon, he really doesn't initiate the conversation with intent to kill. Do you think if Orochi was aware of his fate and just apologizes for making all the noise before the fight began, Saitama would just leave him be? This is a good question, and it does bring up the question of like, what is Saitama's morality when it comes to this stuff? And honestly, it seems like it's on a case-to-case basis. Because what you're saying is definitely true. It doesn't seem like he's just going to go out of his way to just annihilate every single monster. Sometimes he is like that, but sometimes it seems like he might stand to reason with a monster, or maybe just see what they're about and then maybe let them go after that. Because I also, like, not only with Neon, but Overgrown Rover, like, I guess it's heavily implied that he allowed Rover to live because he felt that he was definitely like a dog-like creature and maybe not inherently evil, maybe just misguided or something. I don't know, who really knows what Saitama is thinking, but if he wanted to kill Rover, he definitely would have killed him. And we know by now that Saitama can control the output of his power. If he wants to hold back and not kill you, but seriously damage you, he will do so. He's done it many times. You've seen him do it to Sonic, and I guess in this case, Rover. So with Orochi, I do think that if Orochi didn't show like any kind of violent tendencies, didn't prove that he was a murderer, which Saitama wouldn't know at this point, and was like, I'm sorry, I'll stop making the noise, and then I'll just retreat back into my hole, which Orochi obviously wouldn't do. He would never do that. But just if he did, in this theory, I guess Saitama would just be like, okay, well, don't make me come down here again. I could totally see Saitama doing something like that. So I think it's just a case-to-case basis. Where Saitama doesn't necessarily want to kill, but he will gladly if he has to. He more so just wants to fight more than anything, rather than just kill somebody. But it's more so if you show like some kind of psychotic murderous intent, some kind of unredeemable aspect to you, he will gladly take you out. I mean, granted, if you're not a human, but we're just going off of monsters here. Don't let the YouTube police know, but excellent work on the odd manga panel inclusion in the videos lately. I know you said you wouldn't risk using them because the reward wasn't worth the risk, but the odd one or two in a 20-minute video makes it a premium watch. Peace, man. Hey, thanks, Joe. I'm just still experimenting. I'm just trying to see what works, and I'm just honestly just trying to use the panels only on a referential basis. That's it. Just when they're absolutely needed and when they could just help the video in like a supplemental way, and not supply a replacement for the actual work. That's mainly what I'm just trying to do here. But thanks, Joe. I appreciate you giving me some good feedback on that. Joshua D asks, how likely do you think it is that Metal Knight is the leader of the organization, or that he at least uses one of his robots to act as the leader? So the likelihood of it, I wouldn't say that it's extremely unlikely. There's definitely some kind of link that Metal Knight has to the organization, but just percentages-wise, I would say that maybe there's like a 30-35% chance that this is the case. So me personally, I don't think that Metal Knight is the leader of the organization. But we have to go back to chapter 97 of the webcomic when we get the most compelling evidence of some kind of connection, possibly for Metal Knight to the organization, because when he's reviewing that security footage that he retrieved from the Hero Association, from like when Saitama took down his security robots, when he's looking at the footage on like his multiple monitors, we see on one of the monitors on the left of him is the friggin' the brain robot from the organization. So this poses a whole bunch of extra questions. So does this mean that he is looking at security footage on all of the monitors that he's looking at, not just the singular one in front of him? And does that mean that the brain robot showed up to the wreckage of the robots that Saitama had destroyed and was salvaging them, similar to how we saw G5 salvaging the Metal Knight robot from the Monster Association? That seems very plausible. That seems likely. But then also it's like, if he's not looking at all of the footage on all different monitors, then that means that he has some kind of live feed to the organization or something, or he is directly controlling the brain robot. But then that would mean, like, why can he see the perspective of the brain robot and not see it from the perspective of the brain robot, unless this means that one just wants us to see that he is somehow in connection with the brain robot. But then it's like, who is the brain robot? What is the brain inside of it? Why does it need a brain? Why does Metal Knight need to do that? So many questions. But I don't think that Metal Knight is the leader. I don't think he's controlling the organization. In my opinion, I think he might have inadvertently created the organization. I think Metal Knight might have invented some kind of AI, which eventually became Drive Knight, and then Drive Knight defected, and then he created the organization. You know, similar to like the whole Iron Man Ultron dynamic, or Hank Pym's Ultron dynamic, something like that. But we do know that Drive Knight has some kind of beef with Metal Knight, and there's some kind of connection there. So it's so many questions to be asked, but anything could be likely at this point. Phoenix Man asked, "Greetings, Shonen. Sorry it's been so long since I've asked anything. I honestly couldn't think of anything to discuss." Yeah, it's all good, man. I so appreciate you still supporting me and sticking around. I feel like a lot of people probably have run out of things to discuss. As you know, most of us on Patreon here are webcomic followers, so we already know what's going on with the manga and everything. So I guess we're kind of just waiting for new webcomic chapters to come out, probably to reignite our discussions on what is possibly going to happen in the story. But today I was thinking about if one has any plans to make a successor to One Punch Man. My idea was that he could be setting up Glasses as the protagonist of a sequel. It's an interesting thing to think about, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Take care, Shonen. I never really thought about this, but this is interesting. I always assumed that One Punch Man was just going to be like a contained series. Like, it didn't really have sequel potential, because I just don't see where it could go. But then again, it's like, you know, maybe Naruto was similar, and then we got Boruto, and that didn't really get the best reception, at least not currently. And that's the whole tricky thing with making like successor series to something that is so iconic and was already so good, which I kind of feel is the same case with One Punch Man. But, you know, given the estimated trajectory of where Glasses could be headed, it's very likely that he could be the successor to Saitama. But then again, it's like, if we did get a sequel series and Glasses did remove his limiter and was the one above all, you know, what would change in that sequel? It kind of just be more of the same. So it's weird. I mean, I personally can't think of what a sequel series could be right now, especially considering that we're barely halfway through One Punch Man, maybe not even halfway through at this point. It remains to be seen, but I would love it if there was a sequel. You know, the more the merrier. And I would love to see Glasses fulfill his estimated potential. But it's like it comes with like, what would be the different dynamic of the series that we haven't already seen before? Because if it's just Glasses being the one above all in a world where everyone is beneath him, we would need something different, you know, to give it something that the original One Punch Man doesn't have. So Pod B asks, "Hey Shonen, may Harmony find you." Hey, thank you, my friend. I hope it finds you as well. What do you think is more powerful area of effect attack? Nami's Happiness Punch or the King Engine? I'm going to have to say the King Engine for sure. So Nami's Happiness Punch is pretty potent, but it only really affects people who are attracted to women more so, as where King's Engine affects like 99.9% of the population, so I think that's definitely the more powerful one of the two. Also, do you know what a tardigrade is, also called a water bear? Yes, I do. They're fascinating. I love these things. They're like one of my favorite, I don't want to say animals, creatures, organisms, whatever they are. They are the small, almost microscopic organisms, sometimes growing up to a millimeter in length. They have tube-like bodies with 4 pair of legs with claws. They are incredibly resistant to to extreme pressure, heat, vacuum, cold, and radiation. They can also survive being dried out for more than a century. Yeah, I love these things. I love their design, too. Or design. Just the way they look. I'm thinking about them as like if they're a character. Truly fascinating things. I love that they're so overpowered. So how powerful do you think an overgrown tardigrade could be? As always, thank you for your answers, Shonen. You're awesome. Hey, thank you. You're awesome too, Sapad. I appreciate your support, my friend. So this is a very cool question. I thought about this myself too. You know, given that they're so overpowered and they look pretty cool, and it's like, man, what if they were big? Like, what would happen to that? So I never really thought about it to an overgrown extent, which I assume you're liking to Overgrown Rover here. I always thought, like, maybe if they were, like, as big as, like, a tiger or something, maybe even an elephant. But the size of Overgrown Rover, they would for sure be the apex predator of this world, aside from humans. So I don't know how strong they are. We know about their durability and stuff like that, but their strength, I don't know what it would be like. Maybe they would be the strongest creature, animal. So I don't think they would be able to be defeated by any other animal, like elephants, hippos, tigers, all that stuff. I think they would likely destroy them because they couldn't do anything to them. They're like ultra powerful hippos, more or less. But as for us against humans, maybe it could take bullets, maybe, but I don't think it could take like a ballistic missile or something like that. That seems to be a little too much for it. Given that I think it's like heat tolerance is like 220 degrees. Sorry to all my non-American listeners. I don't know what the other scale is for 220 degrees, but that's really hot. I'll just say that. Yeah, but I think a ballistic missile could probably generate way more than that, as well as like the impact of it. But I could be wrong. Like I really don't know. But if we're talking about like this in like the One Punch Man world, where it would be, you know, hyperbolically overblown, similar to how Overgrown Rover is, we could consider that his origin is of a normal dog. He would be one of the strongest monsters easily. One of those monsters that Saitama would have to take out because no one else would really be capable of doing it. Maybe Tatsumaki, maybe Blast, but yeah, he would be just a better version of Overgrown Rover. I mean, he would probably also get Fire Blast or lasers or whatever, like Overgrown Rover does. I think Star Trek might have touched on what big tardigrades are. I'm not a Star Trek fan, but I remember seeing something about it, and they shot like lasers out of their little mouth holes that they have. It could be something like that, but very cool question here, Sapod. I am a big fan of the tardigrades. So that's pretty much it for the video today, guys. Once again, I want to thank all 69 of my nice patrons. I appreciate it so much, honestly. And I just really do hope that this Q&A is good enough because you've given me so much. And I just feel like I don't do enough in return. So thank you so much, guys. It means the world to me. And if you would like to be in next week's Q&A, just simply check out my Patreon. The $5 tier will give you access to this video. And if you liked it, please give it a like and subscribe if you haven't. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.